are franchises out there that are absolutely thriving in this pandemic world. And I know this from talking to their franchisees, talking to the franchisors, and just the industry in general. And so a lot of the ones that are thriving currently are in the service-based space. That is probably the new thing for franchisees to get into now, because in a service-based business, cash flows much quicker, right? Really, the need-based service businesses, they're not the most sexy, they're not the most fun, but right now, those are the ones that are doing very well.
Analytics and engineering, so anyone who loves numbers, anyone who's on the creative side, who loves to make videos or write blog posts, articles, things like that. And the third would be essentially dealing with people, right? People-based skills from a service-based industry or an organization level type of role. Maybe you like to take care of people, so maybe you'd be a great fit for customer service, and you can do virtual customer service for all kinds of companies right now. If you come from a service-based industry where you just love dealing with people and helping people solve their problems and taking care of them, a customer service role right now virtually, might be a perfect fit for you, and it might be that bridge business at the moment.
Because I was tired of getting laid off and, coming home from work early, opening the door, and my wife would say, "Did you get laid off again?" Like this kind of like, I didn't really have a plan B. And I said, I got it. I'm going to have a plan B. I'm going to have a plan C. I'm never going to be in this situation again. So that's what I would say to people. It's really just about making that decision. I'm still going to go out, get my job back, get another job or something. And I'm going to start a plan B. And I'm going to schedule some time to do it. And I'm actually going to do it.
Welcome to episode 5 of our 9-part docuseries, Paycheck Solution. Well, we're going to be going past the halfway mark now, which is kind of exciting for me. So I want you to continue to lean in, pay attention, take note of these ideas. There's dozens of great ideas in every single episode. I know some of them can literally change your life. They can change your future. The number one thing I think you need to be right now is just inspired of what's possible for you. That inspiration will cause you to take action. So continue to watch, continue to learn, write down those ideas. I also want to remind you that if you want to own Paycheck Solution, get it on demand, look at our bonuses, etc. It's all available to you right now at actually a really good discount during the free viewing period. So check out the packages we have, find the one that's right for you, and then you can go ahead and make that investment, and you can revisit this information over and over again. But in the meantime, we're still in the free viewing period, so lean into this episode. There's a lot of great content here. We're continuing to stack this content and the value of it on each other episode by episode. I'm excited to continue to bring it with you. So thanks for taking the journey, but let's keep going. See you inside episode 5. Through my life, I've known many people who worked for years of their life. They saved a good little chunk of money. Maybe it was their nest egg, maybe it was their retirement account, what have you. But then they lost their job, they lost their position, or they got fed up with their job and decided that they couldn't do that anymore. And they took that savings and they invested it in a franchise and started a franchise business, and it worked out extremely well for them. Franchising isn't for everyone, but it's certainly a good path forward for some people. And Eric Van Horn is someone who's a master of this. He's been in this industry for a long time. He understands how to identify the right types of franchises, what to avoid, what to look for, etc. And this may be a potential direction for you, but you should at least know about it and understand it. And Eric Van Horn's the guy that can help you do that. So enjoy this interview. Eric, thanks so much for taking the time to share your wisdom around franchises with us.
Absolutely. Good to be here, Patrick.
So just starting out, what we're trying to accomplish here is there's a lot of people who have either found themselves suddenly out of a job, or they feel like their job is threatened and they don't know how much longer it's going to last. And they need to become self-reliant on their income. And to me, franchise is one of the places that they could be looking. Some people might say, well, I don't know if I have enough resources, the money saved, or if I have access to capital that I could buy one. We'll get into details about what the ranges of those things are. But can you maybe just give an overview of franchising and kind of what that is and why it's a good idea for some people at least?
Absolutely. I've been actively working with people before Corona was there, and they were investigating franchises, and then they chose to move forward once we hit Corona, and post Corona, they actively purchased franchises for the exact same reasons, to create their own paycheck, really. And then I've worked with people after Corona, and they wanted to get into business for themselves as well. And there's really two types of people that I've noticed recently. One is the person that's had a very good job or a very good business, and COVID-19 really impacted them in a negative way, and they're looking for deals. So they want to buy some cash flow, or they might be wanting to buy a distressed business and a distressed franchise. And so they know that there's some things that come along with that, but that's really the buyer for the distressed franchise. Now, there are other buyers out there that they have a job, or they might not have a job in the future, but they want something that is the buzzword used to be recession resistant. Now it's, pandemic resistant. And there are franchises out there that are absolutely thriving in this pandemic world. And I know this from talking to their franchisees, talking to the franchisors, and just the industry in general. And so a lot of the ones that are thriving currently are in the service-based space. So that is probably the new thing for franchisees to get into now, because in a service-based business, cash flow is much quicker, right?
So can you give us an example of what some of those are?
So some of them are painting businesses. They're painting exterior. A lot of house exterior type businesses are doing very well. And like, I'm starting a roofing franchisor. So in July, we'll be launching a roofing franchise. And we had a choice as the franchisor to continue to go along the path of creating this franchisor, or to pull back. Well, a lot of that business is insurance work. So it doesn't matter what the consumer's desires are. Something happens to your house, something needs to get repaired or replaced, you need a new roof, and insurance is paying for it. It might restoration businesses out there like ServPro. ServPro is probably the most recognized one. Belfor is the industry giant, and they have some franchises, but Belfor and ServPro are in the restoration business. So again, something happens, a pipe burst, a flood, a hurricane, you name it, there's an emergency of some kind, they need to come in and they clean it up. And that needs to happen. A lot of times, again, that's insurance work. So those types of businesses that are really the need-based service businesses, they're not the most sexy, they're not the most fun, but right now, those are the ones that are doing very well. Here's another one that some people may not think about. I was talking earlier today with a large franchisee in the haircutting space, like the lower end haircutting space. And he said, Eric, what's happening now, people are starting to open up, and there are 4-hour waits out the front door with zero advertising. So he's opening up tomorrow. He said our franchisor said, don't advertise, because there'll be a line out the door because people need to get their hair cut. And so there's things like that people just don't necessarily think about, that all of a sudden there's demand. So typically the hair care space has been one of those recession resistant industries because people need to get their hair cut. So it's those types of businesses.
So that's actually very interesting, to look at, what kind of businesses are suddenly, becoming in demand. And I imagine there's every kind of franchise and every kind of category. And maybe when people are thinking about wanting to, own a franchise now, of course you want to think about something that is a little bit more recession proof or a little bit more pandemic proof. But they probably also want to go into something that would make them the type of a business that they would feel good about, or that they would enjoy, at least to some degree. I'd imagine might be a little scary to be a restaurant right now, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I was actually talking to one of the most well-known restaurant chains out there, and he's real nervous. And what he said, because everybody I talk to right now, it's all about the pivot. How are you pivoting? What do you think is going to be something that is the long-term pivot where it's changing the course of business? And in the restaurant industry, he said, I wish we just had drive-through. I don't need all of this dining room space. I just want drive-through. So, it's interesting seeing how there might be shifts in general. And I know other concepts are looking at doing more of the food truck thing or just drive-through, and how the economics are much better as a result of not having all the expensive real estate.
yeah, there's this sort of success story here in Salt Lake City. There's a barbecue place called Pat's Barbecue, three partners that owned it. And when this whole thing hit and there was the forced shutdown, they were handy. So they went literally to like a Home Depot, bought a bunch of lumber, and in 3 days they built a drive-through, and their revenues actually started going up because of the demand for, curbside food that you could deliver. It's like, why am I sitting here with all this space for seating people, when I got this kind of demand? So it's interesting how people will adapt, to the circumstances. There's some people that would say, well, I don't know if a franchise is something I can afford. It's pretty expensive to get in. What are the ranges for, it's a less expensive, point of entry, and versus more expensive, and what kind of income can be expected out of these ranges? Like if I had X to invest in a certain, like a roofing franchise, maybe that's a little bit less expensive for me to get in. I don't know if it is, and then here's the kind of revenue that can be generated versus spending $1 million or $1.5 million to get into another type of franchise.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The service-based businesses are the ones to get into right now in terms of quicker cash flow. And it's always been that way, right? It's quicker cash flow. You leave training from the franchisor and your phone's ringing when you get home because people need whatever that is, versus typical retail is you leave training and now you go look for real estate, you spend money on the attorney, that whole thing. So it's typically a 9 to 12 month process to get a retail concept open. So let me talk about that real quick, and then I'll jump into your question.
Yeah, if I could just make that distinction, just in case people are this is new to them. In a retail-based franchise, is typically that space you have to rent, leases you have to sign, build-outs that have to occur, et cetera. Service-based, many times none of that's necessary. So the investment isn't what's a franchise fee. The investment is what's it cost to actually open, right? So that's why you're talking about the service-based being a lot less expensive. I just wanted to clarify that in case anybody was not certain.
Yeah, that's exactly, and that was a good clarification there. And so going into retail for a second, it takes time to identify that space. It might be 1,000 or 2,000 square feet. You're signing a long-term lease. There's a lot of other things that go into it in terms of the actual risk, because you are signing a lease. It's not just the upfront capital, your employees, it's the personal guarantees, it's the equipment, it's all of the stuff that you have to do. But what the people that are buying retail-based concepts right now, because they're buying them. I mean, there are buyers for gyms, for beauty, for restaurants, for all of that. People are actively buying that, but they know it's going to take a year before they actually open up. And by that time, it might take another year or they might have such great real estate opportunities that they're going. So it's based on their timeline now versus the franchisor's timeline, or I got to get in because real estate, what's here today is gone tomorrow. That whole thing has completely changed. And when I got into the salon industry with solo salons, we got in right after the last recession, and we had some incredible real estate deals. And that's how we were able to do so well in that business, because of the real estate deals. So opportunistic investors, franchise owners right now are getting into retail because they know what's coming, and they don't have to make decisions today. They can wait it out and to see what happens with COVID. So now let's shift gears and go back to the service-based businesses and the people that are buying those right now. You can get in for the price of a franchise fee. Franchise fee, $30,000 to $50,000 is typical. And then you have some equipment. It might be a truck, and then it's some employees that you're going to have to hire. Some of them might be 1099 work, that so you don't have to actually put them on payroll, but they're 1099. Every one of these scenarios has their strengths and weaknesses, right? And so, but the point of it is, you can get in, probably less than $100,000. And I think about it this way: right now, the government is wanting business owners out there to start businesses, to pay people to generate revenue, and to stimulate the economy. So we saw it with all the different loans, the PPP, the EIDL. All the loans are to keep business owners going. And now SBA is, I don't know all the details, but SBA is coming out with some loan programs. So I think the lending is going to get better. A lot of people have funded their franchises and will continue to fund their franchises with their 401k. And that's another interesting aspect too, because we all have money in retirement, and now you can access that without the same kind of penalties that you used to have, because they want you to access that to start generating revenue, to create jobs. So I think there's, as we go into this, I think there's going to be different advantages to get into business right now. It's really going to make it easier for people to own their own business, to own their own franchise. And the different lenders out there like certain franchises, certain service-based franchises, because the lenders and the SBA, they know the track record of that particular franchise, whatever it is. And so they're going to want to divert money there to be able to get open. So to sum that up, you can get into a service-based franchise for under $100,000 all in, meaning you can get a loan for part of that. So you're out of money cash, just call it 30%, and then you can get a loan for the rest. And I'm starting to see that happen more and more. And I'm seeing people take advantage of that. I had a call with somebody right after this all happened. The market was going down, and his comment to me was, "Eric, now I know what it feels like to have my 401k go down. And it wasn't as bad as I thought, because I want to take control of my future. I want to take that money out and actually put it into a business that I can do something with it. It's revolving around me, not market conditions." So he's about ready to buy a service-based business in Salt Lake.
Not far from where I am. So, so what's interesting, and this is, it's a psychological thing here, because if, let's say I've been working, for quote unquote a paycheck, either, W-2 matching 401k, maybe I was an independent contractor getting 1099, but I had, IRAs and so on that I funded, and maybe from previous jobs, I got some retirement money. And I wasn't aware that they were literally at this point waiving penalties if you need to pull money out, that's a real opportunity, which means that you already made, if it was a 10% penalty, well, you just got 10% more of your money when you pull it out, because you're not paying the penalty. And but some people, maybe the mindset is, but this was for my retirement, I needed to save this. But when you invest in a business, a franchise especially, that generates cash flow. And the reality is, the money that you put in this business is going to be worth a whole lot more than that when you're ready to retire. So am I accurate in saying that a franchise business that is cash flowing is a very sellable thing?
Yeah. I mean, think about this. Think if you're making $100,000 a year in your job, and your employer says, "COVID happened, we can't keep you on. or, you're no longer useful to the company, you're out, you just walk away with a little bit of money probably. If you have a business that's generating $100,000 a year to your personal income, and you go to exit that business like you exited your job, you just don't walk away from $100,000 of cash flow, especially if it wasn't revolving around you. You sell that to somebody that wants to buy that at a multiple of the cash flow. And a lot of businesses sell, for 4 times cash flow. And so now you are used to making $100,000 a year in your job, you get nothing. You're used to making $100,000 a year in your business, you sell it for $400,000, and then you get to go on and do something else. So a lot of people are just thinking about cash flow until they get to the point where they want to sell. And they're like, wow, I just had this conversation with somebody today I was out mountain biking, and he makes $100,000 a year in his business. And he said, Eric, how much do you think it's worth? And I said, at least $400,000, because he spends 10 hours a week in that business. And I said, it's probably worth more to that for somebody, because what's $100,000 worth working 4 hours a week in your business? It's worth more. And so that's how he set that business up. And he said, I would never sell it for $400,000. I said, I don't blame you. So he's going to continue to grow that. But that's a great example. I mean, that was a real life example of a conversation that I had this morning with somebody. And then that's how you start to really grow wealth, right? You go from that paycheck and you create your own paycheck, and then you start to generate wealth, because you take that $400,000 that you had when you sold the business, and then you go and put some away for taxes, and then you invest into 2 or 3 other businesses at that point, or start them. And I see that happening a lot in franchising specifically.
Yeah, it's maybe an analogy. Tell me if you think it holds. Is if you've rented an apartment or rented a home for 10 years, at the end of 10 years, you walk away from the home with nothing. You just pay, you pay. But if you owned a home and the home happened to appreciate over that period of time, well, when you're ready to leave, not only do you have use of the home, but then you can sell it and take, the profits from owning the home and leaving. So ownership is something that is very valuable. And I think it changes the feeling of working every day. When you're showing up and going to work every day in a business that you own, then your passion, your spiritual experience around this, I think, really changes as compared to going to work at a job that any day you let go, and that's it, you're let go. So I see a lot of virtue in this, and I think the maybe the barrier was just people thinking that it was too big an investment. But you're starting to cite some of these service-based businesses that the investment's not that big, and there's money available to borrow. If you've got a chunk of it, then you can borrow the rest and pay it out of the cash flow. Now, you said something I want to dive into a little bit. You said another good thing about this, though, is that when you become a franchisee of a service-based business, that once you go through your training, the phone already starts ringing. Talk about that.
So when you buy the franchise, you pay your franchise fee, you're going to go to training pretty quickly after that. And there's some pre-training that typically happens. So you buy your franchise 1 month, and then you're going to training the next month. In that time, you're getting emails saying, set this up, get your address, now start putting in information out there to get some employees, and here's your business cards, and here's your website. It's part of the bigger website, but now it's live. And then the phone starts to ring. It'll go live when you're at training a lot of times. And so then you put some marketing dollars behind that when you're at training. And then once you get back, that's when the phone is ringing. I know franchises that the phone starts ringing when people are at training, and they can't believe it. They're like, wow, this is amazing. But this is the service-based businesses, right? And so the phone rings, they get back, and then they have immediate revenue and then you get the feel for that, and you just want more of that. And then that gets you spending more marketing dollars to get the phone to ring more. And then pretty soon you're having to hire more. So that absolutely happens. It's quick. And that's what franchisors want. So now shift gears, that's looking at it as a franchisee. Franchisor makes the real money on your royalties, not just the upfront franchise fee. The real money is royalties. They want you generating money right away, because when you generate revenue, they generate revenue. So they're incentivized for your phone to ring as well. So it's really that real partnership type relationship where everybody wants that phone to ring. It starts ringing, and that's when people get excited. And that's when you're a business owner. And to your point earlier, you're creating something now. You're not just punching in a clock. You're not just trading time for money, but you're actually creating something. You're creating jobs, you're creating revenue, and you are able to think more strategically. You can, you're not just like going in and doing mindless stuff, or your strategic thinking is not building somebody else's equity. You're building your own equity. And so that's energizing as well. I mean, that's a great thing about being a business owner.
Can you give more examples of service-based businesses? So we talk about roofing, we talk about ServPro. I guess when you have like a pipe that breaks or something in the house, and they got to come and do kind of like a remediation, I guess. When they clean it up. What other types of stuff?
There's all kinds. So I'll just spitball some stuff. There's pool cleaning, and here's the thing: like pool cleaning, there's a service, but what they really want you to do is to fix things that are wrong in your pool. So the service is one thing, but a good one's going to identify things that are wrong in the pool and make money on that. Mm-hmm. You've got, like we've already said, painting, gutters, insulation. There's businesses out there that just do insulation. Mm-hmm. There's mosquito control, pest control, critter control. Wow. There are driveway ones that go and they repair driveways. They repair concrete. They're power washing. There's just so many different kinds out there that what you really see that happens out there. Let's say it's pest control, mm-hmm. and the pest control, you're out there fixing somebody, spraying somebody's house. And then you start to hear from that customer, well, do you know about this? Or do you know how to fix this? Or you start to see other things wrong with their house. And then that usually means that pest control franchisee is buying a different franchise because they're in front of the homeowner, which is the customer. And now they start to think, what else can I do if I already have a crew out there? And maybe it's a lawn company and it's spraying their lawns. There's so many different things out there that allow you to get in front of the customer and then make the most value out of that customer by giving them other services. There's some out there that think about We Buy Ugly Houses. They're out there in front of, that's a service-based company. And
I didn't know that's a franchise.
That's a franchise.
Oh,
and there's other ones out there that are like, they go in there and they're repairing stuff in people's houses and they're doing stuff like that. But their real goal is to get into that house and buy that house, because they're going into a house in a distressed situation. And now they are making offers on that house. So this is not We Buy Ugly Houses. This is a different brand. I can't remember the name of it, but they go in and they're fixing something in the house and they know it's a distressed type situation. And their goal is to fix that and to get paid for fixing whatever it is. But then the real goal is they approach the homeowner and say, I know you don't want to live here anymore. We'll buy this from you. And now they have deal flow. So their real business is flipping houses. Hmm. There's there's property management companies out there. That's another service-based business. So there's all kinds of different ones out there that most people don't think about. At the beginning of this, I mentioned the basic ones, but it goes way beyond that.
So is there a place that's like a listing that ranks franchises that people, they said, I want to go learn more. I want to take a tour of what's available. I see Franchise Secrets. That's your podcast. Is that a podcast?
Yep. Franchise Secrets is my podcast. I got a website, Franchise Secrets. And I don't have a listing thing like that. And because this is what I found. There's different ones out there. You can look at all of the lists. And this is is it okay if I share some of the dirty secrets about franchising?
Well, I was going to ask you about them. So I was going to say, what's the downside and what do you need to be aware of? So yeah, please do that.
So the things to be aware of, most of the lists that you see out there, not all of them, but a lot of them, all based on historical data. And because franchisors have a document called the franchise disclosure document. And if you ever look at a franchise, you're going to get this thick document and it gives you all kinds of information that's all historical on that franchise. These companies or these magazines or these websites take information in that document and compile ranking lists. So it's all based on data in a document, and that data in the document is based on what the franchisor is giving them.
Mhm.
And so that data is usually a year and a half old, and that's what they base these rankings off of. I opened up a magazine a few months ago, and it was bragging about this one concept on how they did it. Now I know the inside scoop, and it was what they were bragging on was the absolute opposite of what happened in reality. I also saw some others on that list of how great they were because of whatever, and it was completely that was the case 2 years ago, but it's not the case today. It's the actual opposite today, and this was before COVID. So I just don't put a lot of weight into those. So if you want to know the fastest growing, you look at the fastest growing ones. If fastest growing means something to you, and you want to be a part of that, then know that was 2 years ago, and it's probably too late right now. The best thing that people can do is talk to people like me that are actually inside of the brands, that know the inside scoop. Because what's more important to me versus a ranking that's 2 years old is, what is the founder really like? What are their franchise? At the end of the day, it's what are the franchisees really saying? And you can't get that without talking to them or talking to somebody like me that knows what they're going to say. Because at the end of the day, I don't care what the franchise salesperson's telling you. I don't care what the corporate office is telling you. I put the vast majority of the weight in what the franchisees are telling us about that brand. And so when I'm looking at a lot of different brands out there, I know the founders of them. I know the main players, the C-level executives, but I also know what the franchisees are saying, because I have friends that know franchisees. And if I ever need to really get the inside scoop, I just call them up. So that's what's challenging out there. But so how do you look, right? I mean, someone's out there today thinking, I don't even know where to start. A good place to start is probably my podcast. I got 2 podcasts. The first one is Franchise Story, the Franchise Story podcast. And what I do there with my business partner, Brian Holmes, we interview franchisees and franchisors. So go on there and listen to some of those, and you might relate to that franchisor, the founder of that company. And that means a lot. And you might not relate to them, and you might not want them as a partner. And that's okay. And then again, with franchisees, I interview franchisees there so people can get a flavor of what's going on inside that franchise system. And then now you have somebody that you can call if you want to. And we get into the things that people don't see in the franchise system. And you only get that by talking to franchisees. So an easy way to talk to franchisees is just listen to the Franchise Story podcast. Now, Franchise Secrets, that's where I interview industry experts, industry leaders, some franchisees, some franchisors. It's a lot of just really inside industry information in there. So that's another good place to kind of get educated. And then at the end of the day, it's probably just, like I said, talking to somebody like me that is inside of franchising, that really has your best interest in mind.
Now, and you've been, incidentally, so you've been a franchisee, meaning you've owned franchises that you bought. And you also, are you currently a franchisor where you have a franchise? I think you said the roofing business, you're the franchisor, right? So you develop that and you sell to franchisees. So you've seen both sides of this. So you kind of get a 360-degree view. I imagine that you very often pre-qualify people. If they want to come by one of your franchises, you look for certain things aside, should they have a franchise or not, because it's really bad for the franchisor to have a franchisee that doesn't succeed. What do you look for? What's the type of person that can succeed at this? And also, what's the type of person that maybe shouldn't do this?
So as I will talk about me as a franchise consultant, my filter, and then I'll talk about the specific brand. So in general, somebody wants to talk to me about buying a franchise, they have to have, $100,000 to work with somewhere, like an IRA or a 401k or something. Has to have $100,000 somewhere, because I know I can help them. And I know it's not too big of a risk for them. We'll put them in an appropriate franchise that's at their risk tolerance. The other thing is their timing. To talk to me, they have to be ready to buy within 3 months. Mm-hmm. And not that they're going to buy in 3 months, but they have to be ready. And this is why it's not my criteria. But if I talk to somebody, they want to buy a franchise, I introduce them to franchise concepts, and they get to the end of the process in 2 months or 3 months. And then they're just like, well, I'm just not ready yet. Well, that franchisor just wasted a bunch of time because they're not ready yet, and they'll never be ready. So I just had someone that's buying in Salt Lake that came to me 6 months ago. He was in the investment banking world, working ungodly amounts of hours. And he said, can't we just start right now? I'm 6 months away from buying. I said, no, 3 months away from buying. And now he came back to me in 3 months, and now he's buying. You don't have to buy in 3 months, but you have to be ready to buy if you find the right concept. So I think in general, as people are talking to any franchise system out there, you have to be able to just be upfront with yourself and be upfront with them on your timing, and then on the investment level that you can actually afford. So now the roofing franchise, what we want is a specific type of person in that franchise. So we need to make sure that they're going to be the right fit. They need to have either management skills or sales skills, one or the other. Really good to be like a project manager. If they come from a project management background, because these are a bunch of little projects that they have to manage. They can hire the sales team. They can hire the workers, and they can manage that. That's ideal. Salesperson is going to take that business to a certain level, and they probably have to hire that project manager to do it. So those are the three things that we look for in that business. Now, if someone was a CPA or that type of an accountant or bookkeeper, and they never want to like engage with the public and manage a sales team, they're not going to be the right fit for that. And this goes, I'll take that same example to a different extreme. In the tax business, because that was the first business that I was in, income tax preparation, which I never filed a tax return. I don't know how to do tax returns, but that was my business because it was a marketing business. Mm-hmm. Because you had the owners that did well brought customers in. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. Now, we knew at the franchisor level, if you bring in a CPA, they will want to be behind the desk preparing taxes versus bringing customers in. So in the tax business, we didn't even want bookkeepers or CPAs or accountants because the business was really a marketing business. So at the core, you need a good franchisor will understand what that business really is, not what the public thinks it is, and they will bring in the appropriate person.
So do you see right now, or do you anticipate, maybe be a better word, that franchises or franchisees going out into the marketplace to find a franchise, that the impact of COVID is going to actually grow that there's going to be more people looking?
It's definitely has already shifted that. It was before COVID, everyone was wanting in the beauty industry or in the fitness industry. That was probably from the people that were coming to me, 80% wanted that. And it's completely shifted. About 80% want service-based businesses now. Mm-hmm. And it's more of a need for them too, because they want the cash flow. It became a lot more popular being able to actually make money and versus doing something that you really enjoy. And so I think the more people that are wondering about their job and the desire for something that they really enjoy versus something that makes them money is kind of shifting as well. So I think the consumer behavior is shifting. The business owners are shifting. I'm even hearing people that make millions right now. They make millions in franchising as net profit, many millions. They're shifting to service-based businesses because they want to diversify. And I get those calls. I get calls from other people that want to buy up, the people that are buying up the gyms and the beauty industry right now. They're wanting to buy up large amounts of them to sell to private equity when this is all said and done, because that's what was happening in that industry beforehand. But again, that's like 20% of the people. Most people now are really interested in the service-based business. And I think that's going to start to increase as well. I'm starting to get more of those calls, but right now people are scared and it's unknown. And it just depends where people's mindsets are right now. And I don't think business ownership is right for everybody. And those are some of the conversations that I have with people. And in the last 2 months, a month and a half since COVID hit, one of the first things that we talk about is like, what's your risk tolerance and why do you want a business right now? And so we start to go over those things, and we don't skip around that conversation, because that's really important, because you have to be resilient right now. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have that thing inside of you that no matter what, I'm going to make this work. And that's who those types of people that want that desire, that's a good place to start. And then they start to believe in themselves as they put themselves into that business mentally before they actually buy.
Well, to recap, I think that, there's a good amount of people right now who are motivated to, to explore this at the very least, who have some savings and and want to really just have their own paycheck, if you will, or be self-employed as compared to continuing to work, for somebody else. There's tens of millions who are dislocated right now, and I know there's many different considerations, but I know franchising is definitely one of them, and an important one that they can and should consider. And I like the fact they say, hey, you got to be really motivated and have a do whatever it takes attitude for success. This isn't once you paid the money, now you lay back and income comes. It's almost the opposite, right? Paying the money is the easy part. Then you got to get to work and build this thing, but you're building it for yourself. And the better you build it, the more you're going to get out of it along the way, and the more you're going to get out of it at the end. So I really think that this is a viable opportunity for many people who are in the predicament we're talking about right now. So Eric, I appreciate you coming and sharing all this. Is there a final word they have before we tie up?
No, I think I'm not the kind of guy that says buy a business and it's a dream business and follow your dream, because right now the dream is a nightmare for a lot of people. But people right now that are wanting to get into business are getting into it at probably one of the worst times. And you can actually, the environment, you see what bad looks like, and you can make a really good informed decision based on the current environment, not what might happen. So from that aspect, I think it's an incredible time to get in for the right person. And one last thing, I'm starting a Facebook group that is called Franchise Resale Hub. Franchise Resale Hub. You can just go to that with the .com. And what I'm doing there is people that are selling franchises, more of the distressed and maybe cash flowing. I'm just matching people together. I'm not taking any commissions out of it or anything. It's just something to match people together. So that might be another good way for people to start engaging in this whole world of franchising. I think it's a great time to get in because you're going in with your eyes wide open, and that's why.
And I guess to that point, in many respects, it's a good time to buy, right? There's a lot of franchises on sale. So it's a good time to step in and buy and get it at a pretty good discount. And then when things turn, you're going to get the upside of that. So thank you for sharing that. Nothing like a free service. That's great. So I appreciate that. So Eric, again, thanks so much. You're just a wealth of wisdom around this whole topic, and I'm really glad you shared it.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Mike Dillard is the consummate entrepreneur. In our own little entrepreneurial community, he's just a guy that everybody loves and respects. Why? Because he's extremely intelligent. He's also very vulnerable, talking about the mistakes he's made in the past, and he also has great foresight into the future. Mike is somebody that's very level-headed, very methodical in his thinking, and I believe here is going to provide insights for you that can be formative to create your paycheck solution. So you want to pay close attention right now to Mike Dillard. Mike, if there's a person in the world who has studied how to become an entrepreneur, how to make your way in the world, how to be self-made, if you will, and maybe we'll discuss what that really means, that's you. You're somebody who's a deep thinker. You're able to look at and spot trends. You're able to reflect upon things that have occurred and process them and bring some context to it. And right now, with what's going on in the world and how many people are dislocated from work that they've maybe had for years, maybe even decades, suddenly find themselves out of a job that might not be coming back or probably isn't coming back. And we're trying to light a path for them to figure out how to become self-sufficient in their own income. So I'm really excited to have this interview with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is a topic that I feel like I'm really well equipped to tackle for everybody. And so I'm excited. This is going to be really, I think, valuable for folks because this is what I've done for 20 years. I've gone from, a broke college student waiting tables to building, multiple 8-figure businesses over and over again. And I got my start in the work at home business space. So I have a lot of wisdom and hard lessons learned from that industry in those years that I'm excited to share with everybody today that I think is going to be very, very valuable.
Thank you. And maybe we could start there a little bit as far as looking at how a broke person waiting tables in a restaurant, which incidentally, a lot of people are working in restaurants that job went away too. What was it that caused you to go from, showing up at a place of business, working and collecting money to saying, I'm going to start a business and make my own income? What facilitated that?
Yeah, the primary driver for me when I first got my started is that I didn't want to be told when to work and I didn't want to be told how much I could make.
Mhm.
And it was really those two pieces that I think are common for many entrepreneurs that drove me to pursue starting my own business. But what I think is really relevant for folks, especially right now, if you've just lost your job, if you've lost your career, if you're having to essentially start over from scratch, and if you see entrepreneurship and starting a business as a potential path with a lot of opportunity and a lot of upside, that's awesome. And I'd highly, highly encourage you to do that. Being in charge of your financial destiny, I think, is one of the most amazing things anyone could ever do because you get to create the life that you want to live when you work, how hard you work, what you work on, how much you make. But with that being said, my primary concern right now with everyone who is in that position and starting to look at building a business for the very first time is that it's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be confusing. It's going to be frustrating. And the main reasons for all of that is the fact that the amount of options available to you are basically endless. And so what kind of business should you start? Who should you listen to? And if you were to Google, how to start a home business or an online business, you're going to be presented again with hundreds of different opportunities. You're going to start seeing ads show up in your feed from 100 different people who are wanting to potentially teach you how to start a very specific type of business that they have successfully built. And there's going to be a lot of, folks who are going to look at like the network marketing industry specifically on an inexpensive way to start a business. And here's what I really want to share with everybody, because it took me 5 years to figure this one lesson out. And during those 5 years, I did not make a single dollar. I busted my butt. I probably tried a dozen different businesses and I made absolutely nothing. I want you to not make that mistake. So the lesson is this: none of these opportunities are going to make you money. The network marketing opportunities are not going to make you money. The online business opportunities are not going to make you money. What will make you money is acquiring and mastering a new set of skills. Ultimately, that's what you're going to get paid for. And that's what you got paid for in your last career. You got paid for the skill that you had acquired and what you knew how to do. If you come into this world of entrepreneurship looking for something outside of yourself to bring you a result or to make you money, it is not going to happen. You're going to lose money and you're going to lose time. You're going to lose years of your life chasing these, potential pots of gold or rainbows, if you will, that simply do not exist. And so that's my number one warning for folks is don't chase after business opportunities, chase skills. And so if I were in your shoes right now, what I want to do is figure out what are the skills that I need to acquire in order to get attention online, because you have to get attention to sell a product or a service, then to successfully market and promote that product or service, and then 3, how to deliver that product or service. And those are the 3 skill sets that you need to make a transaction and to generate revenue. If you can focus on the skill side and figure out, okay, what are those skills that I need to acquire instead of the idea or the opportunity, then when you come across the right idea or opportunity, you will actually have the skill sets needed to execute that successfully and make money. And so when people start, when I got my start in network marketing years ago in my early 20s, I thought the opportunity was going to bring me results. I didn't focus on any kind of skill acquirement. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you own a business, you have to make a sale in order to make money. So, what's one of the most critical skills you have to master first? It's the ability to sell. And I was super shy. I hated sales. I was absolutely horrible at it. And so I kept putting that skill off and off and off and chasing different opportunities or marketing gimmicks or whatever it may be that would help me avoid having to learn how to sell. And ultimately, after 5 years, I finally realized that that was not going to work and I needed to change my outlook. So I decided to learn how to sell through a specific skill called copywriting. And that's basically the ability to sell through the written word. So I could write a blog post or an email or a video script, and I could learn the psychology of sales and the framework of sales and sell my product virtually without ever having to talk to anybody. Learning that skill, it took me about a year and a half to master that skill set, working on it every single day, is what allowed me to go from waiting tables at PF Chang's, making $100 a day at most, to making my first $1 million by the age of 27 and about 18 months later. So 5 months of failure, figured out that I needed to acquire skill sets, focused on sales as that first skill set, and went from waiting tables to $1 million in 18 months.
Wow, I think if we can save people right now the 5 years of pain, it's probably a really good thing. And so hopefully learning from your I won't call it mistakes, because all's well that ends well, but from the challenges you faced in the beginning. People right now, many people, there's maybe they've got a little stopgap measure of some money coming in from the government, to kind of prop them up while they're hopefully figuring something new out. And so if you're looking, let's say that, wow, I'm looking down the road and saying, I don't have a lot of time frame. Maybe within the next 90 days, I really have to start generating some revenue. Is that realistic? Do you think people can start from, imagine, they've had a job, they probably, fundamental computer skills and search skills and organizational skills and that kind of stuff. But now, within now and 90 days, is it reasonable to think that somebody could, within 90 days, start to generate some revenue?
It depends, again, on their existing skill sets.
Mhm.
And so if you have an existing skill set that you're good at, and maybe you can now apply that and offer that skill set online, and you're just missing that online component of how to do it, yeah, there's a good chance you might be able to do that. If you don't have that, if you don't have a skill set that directly translate to an online business, then realistically, the answer to that question is no. In my personal opinion, I don't think that's realistic. Again, it took me years to figure this out and to make mistakes and to acquire the skills that I needed to acquire to do this successfully. But what I like to recommend for someone when it comes to their first business is what we call a bridge business. And a bridge business is basically where you take your existing skill set and you start to offer it online to other people, as on a contractor basis or as a service provider. So let's say you've been a website designer for a company, or you've managed social media accounts, or you're an artist of some kind, or maybe you're a therapist and you were a part of a clinic, whatever it may be. Well, you can set up a bridge business and basically start to offer those services just by the project or by the hour in a bunch of these online ecosystems like Odesk or Fiverr or 99 Designs, or there's dozens of them out there that are these ecosystems where people from all over the world can just hire you for a project or for your particular skill set. And that is a great way to get paid to learn how to build a business, or to get paid while you're learning how to build a business. So for me, that's where I would start, is with a bridge business. And how can I get paid to get better at basically building an online company or providing services online? And you do that for a year, you get smarter, you get paid while you're doing it. Well, now you can take the next step up and start to do that on your own with your own customers, basically. So that, I think, is the most realistic place to start. If you are young, if you've got an endless amount of energy, if you've got an endless amount of ambition, if you can work 15 hours a day, and if you're smart and intelligent with your resources, can you go out and master one or two really valuable online skills that you can then sell? You could, but I think that's 5% of people at this point who who would have those three very rare qualities to go out and pull something like that off in 90 days.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting because with this economy, we've already been moving toward, even before the pandemic, things like, as you talked about, like Fiverr, where, people from all over the world, have a certain skill set, can offer their services to anybody who has a need and, match them up. And maybe that, I like that as I think you referred to it as kind of like a bridge, saying, hey, here's something I could be doing in the meantime while I'm trying to develop some new skills in these other realms. Do you have any thoughts or maybe a framework for people who said, I'm not sure where my strengths might be? Like you went to copywriting, you finally said, okay, I looked at this, and copywriting, that for some reason seemed to be an area where if I can master this, I could do very well. And you are very well known for your copywriting, and incidentally, copywriting, extraordinarily valuable service. When we hire good copywriters, it's a very expensive part of what we have to do when we're building our business. So copywriting was what you went toward, and obviously a great decision for you. But if you were giving advice to someone who said, I know there's multiple things I could be looking at, how do I figure out which one's right for me?
That's a great question. And that was part of my struggles for 5 years when I was in networking, is that I was, you join that industry and you're told what to do and you're given an instruction set. And that industry is really built for extroverted people. So if you love people and you're very extroverted, that might be a great industry for you right now. It might actually work really, really well, but ultimately you're going to get paid in that industry for becoming a professional network marketer, not because of the opportunity or whatever. If you acquire the skills of becoming a professional networker, you can go to any company and make money. If you don't have those skills, you can join any company, you're not going to make money. And so mastery of the skill is the piece of the puzzle here. And so for me, I'm very much an introvert. And so an introvert trying to build a business in that, and an extrovert's industry was not working very well, right? So acknowledging how you're built and how your brain is wired is one of the most important things that you can possibly do. If you're a creative type, if you like to create and write and have ideas, copywriting might be a perfect place for you to start. On the other hand, if you're very analytical or engineering minded, if you like numbers and spreadsheets and systems and processes, then you might want to look at learning how to master Facebook advertising or YouTube advertising or social media advertising, because the most valuable skills in the world right now are skills that can help other people or businesses sell more of their product or service. If you can come to a business and say, hey, I can help you make more money, you're going to get hired. Even if it's just on a purely commission basis, you can write your own paycheck at that point, and there's always going to be a position available to you. So I would ask myself, how can I make other people or businesses money? And what is a skill set that I would really love to master? What am I going to love studying for 10 hours a day and working on for 10 hours a day? And it's usually, in my experience, it's bifurcated into those two categories. If you can, again, drive traffic for businesses and run ad campaigns and marketing campaigns that help them make more money, you can write your own paycheck. That's a 6-7 figure business right there. On the other hand, people who have that skill set usually can't do the creative part of writing. That's more of kind of an art. And if you have that skill set, well, both of them are needed. I do all of my own copywriting for all of my own products and services, but I rely on agencies to run all of my traffic campaigns, because that's an entirely new set of skills that accesses and uses a different part of your brain. And so just be really honest with yourself and ask yourself, what would I really love to do? What do I want to master? What would I enjoy doing every single day? And that's really going to be your starting point. And then how can I use this to help other people make more money? At that point, you're on a good path. You're heading in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I think, so I'm seeing two broad categories, like say kind of maybe the analytic or engineer, like somebody has sort of an engineering background, and they're a systems person. Then, building those types of marketing campaigns, for Facebook or Google, what have you, funnel building, that kind of stuff, that's that mindset as compared to maybe the more abstract thinkers. So are there more categories in those two that you see, or are those the two broad categories?
I think there's the support category and the operations category, right? Like people who like to organize and use systems and processes and help take some stress off of a business owner's plate, right? Business owners are super busy right now. Maybe you like to take care of people, so maybe you'd be a great fit for customer service, and you can do virtual customer service for all kinds of companies right now. If you come from a service-based industry where you just love dealing with people and helping people solve their problems and taking care of them, a customer service role right now virtually, might be a perfect fit for you, and it might be that bridge business at the moment. So those are I think the three primary roles: analytics and engineering. So anyone who loves numbers, anyone who's on the creative side who loves to make videos or write blog posts, articles, things like that. And the third would be essentially dealing with people, right? People-based skills from a service-based industry or an organization level type of role.
Yeah, it's great that you're saying all this, because as you're referencing these varying skill sets, I'm thinking about, yeah, we have these person like analytics people. Like I'm not an analytics person in the sense of enjoying building and harvesting and processing data. I love to get the dashboards, because then I like to get the result of what that person's work is. And as I think about it, I'm like, yeah, you know what? We invest pretty heavy in that. That's that's not like a low level job. And there's probably a lot of people that are probably very introverted but love being with numbers, and they can do that type of thing. Copywriting, we already mentioned. So it is as I'm referencing, and those people are worth a lot, because when I have good data, we make more money. It's just that simple. When we have good copy, we make more money. It's that simple. And I never look at those things as an expense. I look at them as an investment. So I think, and then of course on the customer service side, keeping your people happy, very, very important thing to do. So I think I love, saying, hey, you could start maybe saying, okay, I kind of fall into this bucket, or this bucket, and now I can drill down deeper into those areas. Cost of starting up, if most people have a phone and a computer and a little bit, at least knowledge on how to, utilize those things, is there a bunch of other expense to try to get going, other than maybe investing in programs to learn how to do this stuff?
That's the primary starting place. I think, and there's a bunch of great learning platforms out there. There's Udemy, there's Skillshare. I mean, that's the beautiful part about this stuff today, is knowledge and information is almost free. And so you can join Skillshare for $20 a month and learn all you want. Like, you can learn how to write copy, how to run a Facebook ad campaign, how to edit videos. Anything you want is available to you on Udemy or Skillshare for like $20 all you can eat, which is amazing. And it's just ridiculous.
Wow.
So
did you
that's
say
where I would start.
Called, I'm sorry to interrupt. It was Skillshare?
Skillshare and Udemy.
Yeah.
Udemy.
Wow.
Yeah. The letter Udemy.
Udemy. Okay.
Yeah, Udemy. So those are two of the biggest platforms out there, and they're very inexpensive. And again, it's for the most part all you can learn for one price. Obviously, there's a lot of great content on YouTube, but YouTube is fairly shallow, meaning most videos are like 10 minutes. You're not going to find a 30-hour course, there. Creative Live is another great resource. But I think Skillshare for the money is your biggest bang for the buck right now when it comes to any of these topics. When it comes to a fast way to make money, the fastest way is, through affiliate marketing. And affiliate marketing is basically getting paid to recommend other people's products. So, we could sign up for somebody else's product or course that we bought that we like, get an affiliate link, which is essentially a tracking link. And I can share that with my friends on Facebook or Instagram or social media, wherever. I can even put some paid advertising towards that link. And it's going to promote that person's product or service. And I don't have to do anything other than be the promoter. They created the product, they created the service, they handle the customer service, they handle the fulfillment and everything else. All my job is to tell other people about it who would be a good fit and who this product or service would help. And then I usually get, if it's a digital course of some kind, a 50% commission. So if that course is $1,000, I'd make $500 a sale. So that's one of the fastest ways to make money online. And as far as doing that successfully and consistently, you need to learn some basic marketing. You need to learn how to find your target audience. Who would be someone that, or a group of people that would want to buy this product or service? And then how do I get myself in front of those people? How do I build an audience of those people? And then how do I market this product and service to those people and share my affiliate link with them, right? And again, that's one of the fastest ways, because it takes away all of the back-end infrastructure of starting a business. I don't have to set up an entity. I don't have to build a website. I don't have to build the product. I don't have to handle the customer service. I don't have to handle the fulfillment or set up a merchant account or any of those things that are required when it comes to starting your own company. It's the exact same thing as network marketing, which provides the same benefits, meaning I don't have to do any of that infrastructure. I just have one job, which is to market and promote this product or service.
Right.
The difference between the two is with affiliate marketing, you're going to get paid more, because with network marketing, you're usually getting 5 to 10%, and you have to then build this organization and master that set of skills. Where with affiliate marketing, you're making, 50% or more. So there are a couple of places that you can go to market affiliate products or find them. One is clickbank.com. Another one is digistore24.com. And those are both ecosystems and marketplaces where you can sign up to become an affiliate, and they have thousands of products that you can just get a tracking link to and then share that tracking link with the right group of people and ideally make a nice commission from that. Now, to do that consistently and successfully, you're going to need to master traffic. You're going to have to learn how to build that audience. You're going to have to get on Instagram every day and, pick a niche. Maybe it's health and fitness. Maybe it's weight loss. Maybe it's internet marketing. Maybe it's work from home. And you're going to have to build up this audience over time of folks who are all looking for help in that specific area of their life. You don't want to do this for different products and different industries and different niches. You want to pick one niche and build up your entire business and audience around that one single topic. And that's going to be the skill you're going to have to master at that point, is probably Instagram marketing, right? Or how to market on Twitter, how to build a following on TikTok, whatever it may be, so that you can gather this group of people around you who would be a great fit to buy this product or service, and then that you could share it with them.
Thank you. I love not only the advice, but also the resources that you're sharing that go along with that, which allow people to put it on the ground. So thanks for that. Are you spotting any trends right now, based on the sudden changes in the world, or do you anticipate any trends that people should be thinking about?
Just, the biggest one is this one, is people are being forced to find another way to make money. They're being forced into entrepreneurship. They're being forced into a bridge business, providing services, as an independent contractor now. And on one hand, I think that's absolutely fantastic. And on another hand, knowing what I know from my experience, I also know that a lot of them are in for a rude awakening as far as how much time, effort, and money it's going to take them to learn and master that skill and make that transition. We have a rule of 3X that we really apply to anything that we do, whether it's starting a new business or developing software or product or whatever it may be, which is give it your best estimates as far as what you think you can accomplish by what amount of time and with what amount of money, and then triple that. And that tripling number is going to be the more realistic expectation or reality of what actually takes place. So if you think this is going to take 90 days, no, it's going to take you at minimum at least 3 times longer than that. So with that rule of thumb, I think people will have some more proper expectations around what's going to be involved in that transition.
It's interesting you say that, because every once in a while lightning strikes, and that's what gets the headlines and the subject lines, et cetera. That's the exception, not the norm. And so I'm really glad that you're setting expectations. I mean, you have to be ready to work, and you got to be ready to have some perseverance around this to be able to get through the other side. But would you say if you do that, it's really worth it once you get through?
Yeah, what's interesting is it feels like it takes forever when you're in this phase that's quite uncomfortable and painful, because it's always uncomfortable to start over from scratch and to have to start at ground zero with what you're learning and having to learn new vocabularies and new skills and new resources and people and all of this stuff. It's never going to be easy or enjoyable. And so it feels like it takes forever. And again, it took me 5 years to make $1, but guess what? As soon as I figured out how to do that, I've made many millions of more dollars as a result of that. And so I don't even think about those years anymore. That was, 5 years feels like nothing to me today, because I've had 15 years since then, of a lot of success and prosperity. And the nice part about this is that once you acquire these skill sets, unlike a job, no one can ever take them away from you. Like, that knowledge is yours forever, and your financial destiny is now in your hands. And that's the ultimate form of financial security. So it's going to feel like it's taking forever when you're doing it. Once you figure it out and kind of get that first win, it's going to go so much faster. And before you know it, you could be doing really, really, really well. You could be making 10, 20, 100 times more than you have been in your previous career, and doing it from a beach, with a laptop somewhere, as myself and all of our colleagues have done. That's the reality we live. So I'm telling you that it is absolutely possible. And I would certainly pursue it. It's been worth every single hardship and, penny lost and dollar lost. So yeah, absolutely.
Is there a thought or a strategy in your mind around the idea of collaboration? Meaning, because once in one sense you might say, "Geez, I'm on my own," and you get kind of insular, because you have that feeling. And should there be maybe a thought also says, I wonder if I should find some people that I can collaborate with to try to together with them make something happen?
Yeah, that's a great idea and a great thought. And in fact, it's one of the most efficient ways to start a business. So a great example is when I left my first company, which did very well. We did millions of dollars in sales. And then I decided I wanted to move on and take on a different challenge. I moved on to a completely different industry where I didn't know anyone. I didn't know any of the content. So I essentially went from teaching online marketing to wanting to learn about financial education. I wanted to learn about investing. And this was after the crash of 2008. So just like this, we went through a crisis and the world kind of got turned upside down. And the good part about the world being turned upside down is that it creates a lot of problems. And as entrepreneurs, that's how we get paid. We get paid to solve other people's problems or our own problems.
Mm-hmm.
And the crash of '08 created a bunch of problems when it came to investing. People lost half their money in the stock market. They didn't know how to invest. They didn't know what to do with their money anymore. And I didn't either. I was at a phase where I was just learning how to invest. I was about 30 at the time. And I needed to learn that skill set. And I just watched what happened. And I was like, well, I know what not to do, but I don't know what to do. And I need to figure this out, not only for myself, but for all of these other people out there that have just been devastated by this circumstance. And so that's a tough position, because now I'm not the one with the knowledge or the skills. I'm not the one with the expertise. I'm not the one with the contacts or the credibility. I don't really have anything, but I had an idea. And the idea was, I want to go learn how to invest like the wealthy, because the wealthy tend to make money if the market goes up or goes down. And those investment opportunities and strategies are, not really taught to people in the middle class. And I wanted to change that. And I saw this as an opportunity to do so. So I created what I call an Oprah business for Oprah Winfrey, meaning Oprah has made billions of dollars interviewing other people, just kind of like this business model right here that you have, right? And so I was like, all right, well, I don't know anything about investing, but I'm going to go reach out to people who are very good at investing, who've made a lot of money, and I'm going to interview them and I'm going to ask them what they've done. And so once a month, we brought someone, on camera just like this, and we filmed a 1 or 2 hour interview exploring their area of expertise when it came to money and investing. Might be on how to invest in gold and silver. It might be stocks. It might be, oil and gas, whatever it may be. But every month was a new topic based around a simple interview like this with the experts. So all I had to do was be Oprah. We sold access to that for $97 a month or $600 for the year. And we sold a lot of that product because a lot of people had that problem. They were seeking that knowledge. They needed that knowledge. Nobody else was really offering it to them. There's lots of financial education companies out there teaching how to invest in stocks and things like that, but that was too sophisticated for folks. Even for me, I don't want to learn how to trade stocks. I want to learn the actual strategies being used by wealthy individuals. And so we launched that business and made over $3 million in our first week.
Wow.
So with that being said, there's a caveat here. And the caveat is that I had already amassed an audience. We had hundreds of thousands of people on my email list from my previous company. And so you can build a great product, but if you don't know how to put it in front of the right people, then they can't buy it from you. So that's where that attraction and promotion and marketing skills come into the equation. Is I knew how to market, but I didn't know how to invest. And so I just used what I knew, went out and found other people who were experts in that arena and just interviewed them. And that became the entire business. So if you have something that you're super passionate about right now, if you see a problem out in the world that a lot of people are experiencing at the moment, like this, how to make extra money, um, you could do a very similar type business, which is to go out and interview folks on how to make a secondary income, how to start a bridge business, how to acquire new skills that you can use to work from home, just by interviewing other experts who've already done it and turn that into your actual product or service. So that's a really easy and efficient way to get started from scratch. And the skill set you're going to need to pull that off is copywriting and then online marketing. You've got to be able to write the sales page or the video to sell that product or service. And then you're going to need to acquire the skills like Facebook advertising or Google ads so that you can run ad campaigns to send the right people to look at your offer and what you have to sell so that they can actually find it and buy it.
Yeah, and I think what I like to highlight out of that is that you took skill sets that you had developed and then just applied them to a whole new place. And I think that's where people's imaginations have to kick in, saying, I do have, everybody's got some skills, and if you don't have any, then the first thing is introspection, saying, yes, you do, figure out what that is. But nonetheless, you had these skills and then said, I'm moving into an entirely new arena. It almost, some people might call that starting over, but no, you're not really starting over. You're starting with a clean sheet of paper with what you already know in skills and now trying to apply them in a new way. So I think that's, if people can just get a little bit imaginative, I think, they can get there. Like, if I knew you before you did that and I knew your old business, I don't know that I would have said, oh, hey, Mike, I got a great idea. You should do financial interviews and turn it into a business. I don't know that I could have thought of that for you. It was you just kind of saying what's calling me right now, and that's how you got there. And so I believe that this conversation, and my intent for it, is that stimulates that kind of creativity where people can take a look in the mirror based on what you're saying, and something strikes them, or there's that little bit of an epiphany or an aha that
yeah, my best ideas have always come from my own personal pains or challenges.
Yeah.
So what do I need help with right now for myself, and then going out and figuring out how to solve that for myself, and then at the same time solve it for other people in the process. The one thing that you just mentioned that is super critical to this entire process, in fact, it's the foundation to it, is mindset. Right? So I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that there was not a single moment of doubt ever when I was getting started and during those 5 years of failure that I was not going to succeed. It was 100% determined and congruent and just eye on the prize. No matter how many times I failed or how much money I lost, I never, ever, ever wavered from that. And so starting a business is not something you try. It's something you do. And if you try it, you're going to fail. And I think what's really important for folks to understand is that you're going to get the outcome that you are looking for. So if you're looking to try something and then secretly you're like, I'm just going to try it, and if it doesn't work out, great, you're putting that responsibility onto that thing again instead of putting it onto yourself. You're already done. You might as well not even go down that road. But if you come to it with the attitude that you take 100% responsibility for this business working or not, and with 100% certainty that you will eventually build a successful business and that you're not going to give up no matter what, you will get that result. If it's anything less than that, you're not going to succeed, because you're going to find an excuse for why it's not working for you. Just like you mentioned, oh, I don't have the skill, I can't learn anything new, I don't have any money. You're going to find what you're looking for. And so if you're looking for opportunity, if you're looking for ideas, if you're looking for solutions and ways to help people, if you're looking for mentors and skills, all of those things are available to you, and most of them for next to free right now. So it really just comes down to your mindset every single day. And I think that's going to be, it's something I take for granted these days. because I just don't even think about it anymore. But now that I do, the most important part of this entire process is that folks are going to have to essentially download a new set of software into their brain as far as their attitude and outlook goes when it comes to life and just becoming an entrepreneur. It is a different set of software. This is not a job. You're going to have to think for yourself. No one's going to tell you what to do. You're going to have to take responsibility for when you wake up and how often you work and the decisions that you make, and how much effort and time you put into everything. And that all comes from you internally. And so if you don't start with mindset first, it's going to be very difficult to make that transition. It's kind of like trying to swim from one island to another without actually learning how to swim, right? Without downloading that information of how to actually do that or build a boat. It's going to be a tough road. So plug into people like Tony Robbins, plug into my podcast, plug into any of the other dozens of free podcasts that are out there on personal development, mindset, life coaching skills, business skills, all of those things. Those are going to be absolutely priceless, because you're going to get beat up by this every single day. You're going to get beat up. It's not going to be easy. So you have to have the ability to keep pushing yourself through that learning curve till you get to the other side. And then it becomes easy. It's like riding a bike. You're going to fall down, skin your knee. Once you figure it out, you can do it anytime you want. It becomes really simple.
Yeah, I think that's really sage advice. The mindset is literally the antecedent, if I could use that term. It's the only term that popped in my head, but it's the thing that precedes, everything else. And you're lost from the start if you have a negative mindset. It's very parallel to what's going on in the world in the sense of COVID. If 30 plus million people in a short period of time have their jobs, some of them are going to say, I'm a victim of the circumstance, right?
Yep.
I had job security, I had benefits, I had a retirement account, and then the pandemic happened and I lost it all. I lost my job. And so their idea is I'm a victim, and they're going to stay victims, and they're going to figure out how much money they can get from the government for how long, and hope to somehow just survive, being a victim. Others it's a wake-up call saying, oh, I had a false sense of security, and now I have to make a new commitment to never letting this happen again. I have to take control of my future. And I think what you said really accurately articulated that. And I'd love to say it's easy, just go do this and it's going to all work out great and it's really easy. No, it's effort. And the mental effort, is one thing. The psychological effort is also another thing that has to be really, really strong there.
And it's just a choice. Yeah, it's just a choice. If you choose to see this as an opportunity, you're going to see it as an opportunity. If you choose to see him as a victim, you're going to get the results of a victim, right? And so that's 100% accurate. And I would also suggest to folks that, this can either happen to you or it can happen for you, right? And if you choose that, this happened for me, this is a blank slate and a new opportunity. There it was, it just popped in, which is, I just want people to look at becoming an entrepreneur as a profession. And if you want to get paid like a professional, then you have to acquire the skills to actually and become an actual professional. And there's so much of that is lost in this industry because the sensational marketing that can be put out there, all you got to do is X, Y, Z, and you're going to make $10,000 a month. You're not. If you want to make $10,000 a month, you have to go out and become a professional at whatever that is. And then you'll earn the right to get paid $10,000 a month, just like you would in any other job. So if you treat entrepreneurship as a career, and if you look at it that way, like most people go to college for 4 years to acquire a particular skill set. I went to the School of Hard Knocks for entrepreneurship for 5 years to acquire the skills I needed to become a professional. That's how the expectation and outlook you have to have when you come into this arena. And I think if you have that, you're not going to get demoralized or discouraged. You're going to be like, oh, Mike told me this is what was going to happen and I'm on my way and I'm doing the right things. And these setbacks and failures, as long as you keep getting back up, are you actually going through the process? And it's you making progress, and you're just one step closer to the ultimate destination that you're going to eventually get to.
I very much appreciate all these insights, Mike. And like I said at the beginning of this, if anybody has a frame of reference and an experience that can really talk about this subject, I think it's you. Do you have a final word before we tie up?
It really, this all comes down to how you look at it. It all comes down to the stories you tell yourself about what's happening around the world and what you want this to turn into. You get to write your own fairy tale here, and it can have a really dark and horrible ending, or it can have a really amazing ending filled with all kinds of pitfalls and adventures and, challenges to overcome and levels to achieve. And so I would really encourage folks to just go out and start with that mindset piece. Start with Tony Robbins. Start with people who are going to help you adopt a mindset. My friend Brooke Castillo is absolutely fantastic. She owns a company in the life coaching industry, and I think that that's the first place you need to start, is to arm yourself with the knowledge and information you need from an emotional perspective to empower yourself to then go out and acquire these new skill sets and become a professional entrepreneur in the years ahead of you. You will keep living. You're not going to die. There's going to be food, there's going to be water, there's going to be shelter. And so with that in mind, don't worry about what's happening to your income or your job or whatever it may be. You're going to be fine. And now this is a starting point for you to build over from scratch. I was living in a $300 a month apartment, eating dollar menu Taco Bell and ramen literally every day for years before I ever, started making a lot of money. But I didn't give up. I went through the learning curve I had to go through, and eventually I got the results that I was looking for. And it's an amazing opportunity. This could end up being the single best thing that's ever happened to you, as long as you have that outlook and perspective.
Well, on that note, perfect wrap up, Mike. Thanks again so much for taking your time and sharing all this with us. I know it's going to make a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. As always, this was a pleasure.
There's this old expression, the riches are in the niches. And I believe that to be true. It's amazing how people can do some things like, dog training or dog care, and these kind of obscure little niches that they get into where they build these big audiences and are able to monetize it and create quite a good living for themselves. So what Joel Peterson does is he teaches people how to create niche businesses with niche sites and how to attract their audience and to monetize all that. It's something that you might want to do. Maybe you have a certain specialty like playing a certain instrument or many other things, that there's a certain group that has an interest in that particular thing. It might seem like a small group, but I bet it's big enough to build a business on, and that's what we're going to learn right now. Enjoy this interview. Joel, I know your story about a paycheck solution is something that is right dead center of what we want to talk about here, so I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation.
Happy to be here.
So let's start with your story. How did you end up becoming self-responsible for your income? Where did it start, and how did you get to doing what you're doing today?
Well, I have got a very long story, but I'll start at the beginning. I always kind of been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. But then when I decided, when I wanted to be a doctor though, eventually I thought being a doctor would be a good thing to do. And went to college, and halfway through college, I decided to drop out and start my own business. I started a karate school and a windshield repair business, and I failed miserably. Had a bankruptcy, ended up working in a chemical factory, taking samples of poisonous cyanide gas, making like $9 an hour, and decided after a while that I wanted something different in my life, and kind of got into computer tech support and such. And then the internet came along, and I realized that there were these opportunities online. I could see it coming down the pipeline. I could see Google was coming out, and just these different technologies. And so I started getting some reading some books and some ebooks at the time that was kind of new back then, and started reading some literature about how to make money online, make money on the internet. And I was all for it, and I tried it and tested it. And I remember I woke up one morning and I had made like 3 sales of $37. And I remember waking up going, oh my gosh, I made money while I slept. You actually can make money when you're not trading time for dollars. So that was kind of the thing that kind of whetted my appetite. But then the story gets better. I want to keep going.
Yes, of course.
So it's when I had that lightning moment, I was like, there's this huge, amazing opportunity on the internet. And so at the time I was working at 3M, the big company everyone knows about, and making a pretty decent salary, driving in traffic every day and all that fun stuff that a lot of people do, which is perfectly fine. But for me, I just wanted more because I just never had enough money in my life and never enough time. And so I started this whole internet thing. We started running this little thing called Google AdWords came out, and I started running some traffic to affiliate offers and doing some different things. And lo and behold, in the matter of about 9 months, I had tripled my income that I was making at my day job, sitting in my gray cubicle. And pretty soon I was making more money in a month than I was making in a year at my job at 3M. And I was just amazed. And so long story short, within that 9 months, I was like, that's it. I quit my job, and that was 18 years ago. So I've done my own thing ever since, and just all online. So I've worked from home, and it's been great.
So what is it that you think people need to understand about doing this? Meaning, in your case, you had a job and you said, hey, I want to try this. And you saw it start to blow up and you're making more money. And, as you described, long commutes and sitting in cubicles, it certainly doesn't sound very attractive. So saying, wow, this is a great thing. I've become self-employed, if you will, and responsible for my own income. What would you say for someone now, because you've made the switch, but let's say that they find themselves suddenly unemployed and they have to go and try to get this figured out. What are the thoughts and considerations around that?
I find that it's a great time and it's a great opportunity. It's kind of like an eye opener. Previously to doing what I did, I had been laid off from my job 3 times in 1 year. Wow. So it was kind of that kick in the pants. And I think a lot of the world has just received a giant kick in the pants, a lot of people. And so I think the things that I would do, what I would recommend is, listen, use this kick in the pants. You can make 2 choices. You could focus on the negative about it and the worry, or you can make a decision. Listen, I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to do something different. Even once I get my job back or get a new job, I'm never going to fall in this situation again. And that's what I did, because I was tired of getting laid off and, coming home from work early, opening the door, and my wife would say, did you get laid off again? Like this kind of like, I didn't really have a plan B. And I said, if I got it, I'm going to have a plan B. I'm going to have a plan C. I'm never going to be in this situation again. So that's what I would say to people. It's like, listen, it's not like you're going to do something like overnight and replace your income. It's really just about making that decision. I'm still going to go out, get my job back, get another job or something, and I'm going to start a plan B, and I'm going to schedule some time to do it, and I'm actually going to do it. And so whatever it is you choose to do, it's going to be, who knows? But there are so many opportunities. So making the decision, yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second, because in your situation, you talked about, hey, there's this new thing called Google AdWords, and you started to see some opportunity there. So you started to build on that. What do you think the opportunities are today?
Information. The opportunities today, there is so much. Today, people will pay for information. They will pay for opportunities. They will pay to learn things. And think about it. There are so many great things you can do online. You can start an e-commerce store. You can start, all kinds of things. You can do online trading. You can do lots of things. They all have their risks. They all have their advantages. But what I love is information, because it's all digital. I don't have to worry about shipping physical products or anything like that. And believe it or not, in this time frame of everything that's going on, our business is flourishing right now because everything we do is digital. It's flourishing. And so obviously that's my favorite. That's worked really well for us over the years. And so whether I'm selling some kind of information product, whether I'm building a site with content and, earning income with, ads or affiliate offers or building an email list, that's where I like to go to. That's what I recommend for a lot of people. There's a lot of avenues in that area.
When you talk about, because I don't want to assume that people understand some of these things. So when you talk about
Sure.
a e-commerce store, what do you mean by that?
Well, I originally got started on selling things on eBay. Selling physical products on eBay. Believe it or not, we drive to garage sales and we find things and we list on eBay, and then we started going to trade shows and buying things, and then we were shipping like 100 packages a day. Believe it or not, it was a lot of work. So then and then I got out of e-commerce. I went into information products, but nowadays people do e-commerce through like Shopify. They import things from other countries, which right now it's kind of been problematic for some people. There's certain supply chains that have, but it'll always be a good business too. But I liked it. It's good. E-commerce, you're selling physical things. Something still has to be shipped, whether it's you or someone else. Margins are not always as good as information products, and that's why I tend to like info products and blogs and websites better. Margins are better.
So, and I'm in agreement. So it's less complicated, less, time and physical effort. But some people maybe, setting up e-commerce, is the right thing for them. It's
absolutely.
it's like, hey, they have access to certain things that they can sell, and then that's, again, everybody's different. So let's say that someone found, because we'll do this, then we'll go to info products in a minute. But let's say someone they found, let's say they're either good at scavenging, your garage sales and so on, or maybe their old job had something to do with, access to certain things that people might want that they can start to sell online. How do they find the buyer? What's the best way to find the buyer?
There's a couple ways to find buyers. We're talking e-commerce wise. One place is to go to places where buyers already exist. eBay, Amazon. Here's an example. At Christmas time, I decided I'd get back into collecting vinyl records. And I saw this little listing. This guy was selling his vinyl collection for $500, and it was like over 2,000 records. Wow. It was crazy. We went at Christmas Eve. We loaded up my Suburban to the top. We brought all these vinyl records back, and we went through all this, and we found out that we had over about $15,000 worth of vinyl there to sell if we wanted to sell it. I got my kids on that project. They're doing that now. And so we found this site called Discogs, which has a community of people who are already interested in buying records. And so places like eBay, Discogs, those kind of places. So I like to find where buyers are already congregating. That's one thing I do. Find out where they're congregating and then market to them. It's always easier to sell to people who are already looking for something. The other way would just to be maybe some paid advertising, building up my website, building a list. Social media is huge. That'd be another avenue. So,
yeah, makes a lot of sense, and it's perfect. Incidentally, you just kind of tweaked my ear because I'm starting to rebuild my vinyl collection, which I lost many years ago. And I went to eBay. I couldn't find, I'm looking for a nice classic rock, collection that somebody wants to sell because mine somehow in some moves some decades ago got lost. And I'd like to replace it. So Discogs, I just learned something new here. I'm going to go check that out.
There you go. Yeah.
If you still have yours, pull out all the classic rock stuff. I'll buy it from you.
Oh, there you go.
See how easy it is to make a sale?
Exactly.
But it really does go to your point as far as saying, where are the buyers are there? Where are they? And it's kind of a smart thing to say, hey, there's this huge collection for $500, and that's valued really at 15,000, but takes work to separate
Right.
them all out and to list them and then to make the transactions and ship them. That's just the work, right?
Right.
So, all right. So now so I think that gives us a good understanding of e-commerce
Sure.
and what the possibilities might be. Let's talk about info products, or, kind of that world, information, and, how you
Right.
navigate that.
Yeah. So info products, the long story short, I was selling stuff on eBay, and then I had a good friend named David Fry, and I had heard he was selling books on the internet, but they were digital books. I was like, what? This is like when ebooks are new. So he was selling this book for uh, $69, and he had made $10,000 the month before. And I was like, that blew my mind, like an actual digital product. Now, fast forward, 18 years, we all buy digital products now. We all have phones. We download Kindle books. We you know you know we talked about music a minute ago. We download music, iTunes, and so many things are digital. So information is a huge business. So anywhere from ebooks to online courses that you can create with video, um, membership sites. There's all kinds of things. If you want to be a specialist in something, you can. You got to pick what you're good at. Go look at the niches out there. Pick a profitable one. That could be the mistake some people make. And emulate what others are doing. That's one of the things that I first did. I started looking at some of the most successful people to see what they were doing. And it's not like I didn't copy them, but I emulated what they were doing. I looked at, they were selling a PDF document. They were selling an online course. They were selling this. And I looked at the trends, and I decided I wanted to do that. I wanted to sell these information products because, the profit margins are high. It's easy to deliver. So, but the key is kind of like what you're going to sell or what you're going to do. Another avenue to that is a huge part of our business is we create content on blogs and websites, and people just consume our content. They see our ads, they see ads, they click on the ads, we make money. So we make a lot of revenue with just ads on our websites. That's primarily a huge part of our business. So gosh, there's so much in information that we could talk about. So
when they're clicking on ads that you put on your site, is that through affiliates that affiliates pay you for people who click on those?
No. So think about this. When you're on your phone, when you go to any website, what do you see? You see ads, right? How do these ads get on all these websites? Well, it's through ad networks, Google AdSense, Microsoft ads. There's all kinds of media.net. There's all these companies that have these banner ads, and they let website owners place them on their sites. So we create websites on different topics: dogs, online colleges, car insurance. It just depends on the topic. And we blog. Some people call them blogs. And so we'll create content. This content will get published around social media. People will start coming to our site, and we'll start making ad revenue. So companies like Google pays us. They just deposit money every month, direct deposit. Other ad networks out there, like I said, media.net. And then we play with some of the larger ones. That's a business that you see every day, but you don't even realize is happening. People see the ads, and they don't realize that every time you click on an ad, someone's making money. That website owner's making money. So,
wow. Where do you think the trends are now? Because you've been at this for at least a little while, and you've seen some things kind of like how they're trending in different directions. We're in the midst of this COVID situation right now at the time of this recording, and it might have an impact on some of this. So do you think there's going to be some new trends moving forward?
I think there's going to be some huge trends in education, especially school education, believe it or not. Think about whenever there's a problem like this pandemic, there's new opportunities that open up. And one thing that I see is we've got millions and millions of school kids and parents who are really struggling right now. They don't know what's going to happen this fall. Like, we were just had this conversation. Like, we're talking, who knows what's going to happen? We heard that our school might open up one day during the week and everyone else does homeschool. And our school wasn't prepared for this. No school was. So I'm thinking, wow, here's an opportunity for somebody. Maybe we've got teacher, maybe you're a teacher and you can create some online education to walk a third grader, a fifth grader, seventh grader, or maybe you can create something to help teach parents how to homeschool. Maybe you create a membership site where it's a support group for the parents and you charge $100 a month, $50 a month to help teach these parents who want to do homeschool. I'm just throwing out ideas here.
No, I get it.
I think education is going to be a big thing. Health, we want to stay healthy during this. I think there's going to be all kinds of health related products to be created. Exercise, there's just, I think that's where some of the trends are going to go. I think we're realizing that we can do more things online. Therapy, for example. I've done some therapy sessions with my kids and their counselor. We've done it all online. And I'm thinking to myself, why have I had to go drive to go to these therapists' office? I could do it. We could just always have been doing it online. I mean, maybe you lose a little bit, but so I would look for opportunities out there of things that there's a gap and how you could improve in that. And here's an example. You don't have to be a therapist or even a teacher to create one of these info products, but I bet you know someone who's a teacher. I bet you know somebody who's one of these that you could collaborate with and create something like this. So.
Makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people have certain skills and backgrounds that maybe they're not even recognizing. Like I think my brother, graduated with a history degree. Somebody with a history degree that can teach history really well, they might be able to do a little something right now that could be in high demand, right? So,
right.
Yeah. So, and whereas before, maybe they, what am I going to do with this degree? He works in a completely unrelated field. Maybe now he can come back to the field he studied. That's kind of an interesting,
right.
An interesting
thought.
Yeah,
you could do tutoring or something like that, So
yes. And virtually, and you're talking about the therapist. I'm sure the therapist is saying, "Why am I paying rent every month? I can do this from home. Then I can write off a part of my house. So
exactly.
Anyway, so it is. These things are changing. The considerations are changing. So now let's say, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying. I've got to, I see how you did it, or I know your story. Hearing how you're saying it can be done today. But I'm somebody who's new to all this, and I'm convinced it's doable. So that's the first thing. You got to say, okay, yeah, this is possible, and I want to pursue it. Are there any questions I should be asking myself as far as trying to figure out, okay, what direction do I want to go in? How do I want to pursue this? What advice would you give?
My advice would be this. First of all, you have to make that determination that you want to do something like this. You really have to have that desire, because like anything, nothing's going to be super easy like an overnight success, right? You have to realize this is like anything. You don't become a doctor just by saying, I'm going to be a doctor. And 3 weeks later, you bought some course and you're a doctor, right? But again, it's not going to take 12 years to become a professional at something online either. So you got some great benefits. So I would become a sponge. That's what I would say. I would become teachable. I would make the decision first that you want to do something different. You might not know exactly, but I would become a sponge. I would buy some courses. I would buy some ebooks. I would invest in my education. I would spend time find some really good Facebook groups where there's high level people. Find some people that you can follow. It's like the old saying, the 5 people you hang out with, you usually kind of end up becoming like them. So I would find 5 people that you would like to become like, or like you've seen their models, and emulate them. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I can tell you all the things that I've done, even now, that I've done and failed. Use any failures you do as a stepping stone. Don't ever do something. I see this all the time. People buy a course or they buy a book or they try something. They say, oh, that didn't work. That's a scam, blah, blah, blah. No, it's a stepping stone. Maybe it didn't work for you because of such and such a reason. Usually you look at yourself in the mirror and say, maybe that wasn't my thing, but I learned from that. So I know I just shot off a lot of things, but I would become teachable, and I would change the way you think about things. This is the thing. At some point, you're going to consume, you're going to be a sponge. At some point, you need to make that flip, and you're going to be the teacher. You're going to be the one that sells to others or markets to others, or you have the websites that other people are consuming. You're going to make that switch. You should always be a consumer. You should always be a sponge and learn. But at some point, you're going to make that switch, and you're going to realize that I can sell to others now. I can help others. I can fulfill my mission by, whatever it is you want to do. And it's when that switch happens, that's the people that become more successful. And it takes some time. And it's just having a realistic attitude as well. So
it's terrific. Well, Joel, I very much appreciate you not sharing your story, but sharing your wisdom. I think those were very astute observations as far as the mindset moving toward it, what you have to be open to, because it really is like a different self-image to be able to go out and do these types of things. And I think the most important thing I want people to get, which I think you really did deliver, is that, hey, this is really possible. This isn't just like some people get lucky. You could really do this, and it's not you're going to get rich overnight. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some work. And I love that you said, you got to be teachable. You got to be ready to open yourself up and say, okay, it's time for me to learn something. And that could be fun. It's not like, oh my God, it's not like drudgery. It's like, hey, it's kind of fun to learn new things and put them on the ground and turn them into income. So I think that's really great. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So anyway, and for you who are watching, thanks for spending your time. And I hope we delivered a lot of value to you right here. Well, that's it for episode 5. Really phenomenal stuff, wouldn't you agree? And we are not even close to done. Episode 6 is going to be coming up soon. So I'll look forward to being with you for episode 6. Again, if you want to own this, have on-demand access to it, look at the bonuses we have. I think you can see by now there's an amazing amount of very valuable content here. We'd love for you to be one of the people that took advantage of our special offer during the free viewing period. So check that out, and I'll look forward to seeing you in episode 6.
Some of us are going to go back into insanity. That we had insanity in our life before. How can I take this as a starting point for the next chapter of my life instead of going back to insanity? It wasn't until I made that first sale where I realized that people will be willing to pay me for the value I create for them.
Yeah.
And that changed everything in my mind.
You may not think you're creative, but creativity sometimes is nothing more than being able to repurpose something that just sits there dormant or sits there underutilized. And right now there's going to be more underutilization that can be utilized, monetized, profitized. The fear of failing is such an unnecessary emotion. What's the downside if it doesn't work? Particularly if you hedge that, you have 3 or 4 things you're trying, and you keep just trying new ones.
You have to put yourself out there if you want to make progress, and you have to take risks on yourself. Getting clear on your plan and then getting out and proposing that plan to enough people until eventually somebody either likes it or you learn that nobody likes it and you revise your plan and then go back to the drawing board. Anybody who wants to be self-reliant, in my opinion, has to understand how to sell themselves or sell something.